Comcast has the same data caps regardless of speed or time of day without accounting for actual network impact? Fine. I'll cause much more strain on your network than before. December is always a high bandwidth month for me as many private trackers I'm on have free leech, which means I download a bunch of stuff, and people are leeching off what I have much more during the holidays. I also have family/friends over and connect to the network with phones, Netflix, streaming, etc. Last month, I called Comcast to see if they had any faster/higher data allowance plans, as there are much more bandwidth intensive things, and I've used more bandwidth this year than previous. They had several tiers, of which I think I'm on their mid-grade one, that they keep changing the speeds over time, and never get their full actual speed anyways. They told me that the 1 TB data cap was the same regardless of the tier, so if I got the fastest speed, I could burn through that cap in a day and be charged extra, even though it's already costing more than the lower tier. They told me that the data cap does not account for peak hours, as it counts the same at 3 AM as it does during the day. Also, you get 2 courtesy month/year where you can go over without overage charge, and it doesn't matter how much, whether it's 1 GB or 10,000 GB. Basically, I've made a habit of being a good steward of a network I'm on, and do things like throttle speed on torrents during prime time, and let them run at night instead. Now, that doesn't matter, and I can't get anything better, even if I pay more for higher speed. Okay, fine. I'll keep the same rate I have and use my courtesy month this month and make it well worth it. I do have to throttle torrents at 8 MB/s down 5 MB/s up. That's bytes, not bits, because if I let it maximum out, the traffic shaping happens where I'm at 1/2 MB/s for a while. I decide to leave torrents up all day instead of just at night, thus eating up tons of expensive primetime data. I make sure to stream everything I can in 4K and leave it on all day in the background. I'm whoring the free leech on my private trackers to its maximum potential, getting season packs and updating all my stuff in 1080p or 4K. I got a few games taking 100s of GB, and I made sure to download those during prime time instead of overnight as well. Now that the holidays are about over, I called up Comcast again and asked for the next lower speed tier. Why? Well, it's easier not to hit the data cap, and I will only have 1 courtesy month left, so I saved an extra $10 a month for the same data cap. Don't even need anything more least until next December, and now I don't do time of day throttling as a courtesy to the network anymore. This month I used 14 TB of data down/5 TB up. About 10 years ago, I was on Comcast at my old house. I hit their monthly cap and got the warning. I can't remember if they throttled us or what their punishment was. I called up support and asked them how I could track my usage, and they said I couldn't. They would cut you off if you went over cap, but they offered no way to check how much you were using. Eventually we went over again, and they cut us off for a year, no appeal. We had to get to satellite for a while. Then a pleasant young lady knocked on our door and asked if we wanted to pre-order Fios. I haven't looked back since. When we were looking for our new place, I told the realtor that if the neighborhood didn't have Fios, I wasn't interested. Verizon has its warts, but Comcast is a cancer. I'd go back to Hoots before I'd ever pay Comcast another cent. I had to go through my credit company when Comcast double billed me. I had proof they said they were sending me a refund check. They kept trying to tell me my statements were wrong. They also increased my bill with no warning. No calls, texts, emails, account notifications, etc. Verizon, on the other hand, made a mistake on my bill. My autopay got messed up. I fixed it, and it never reflected on their end, and with it went my $10 a month discount. I asked them, and they are giving me an extra $10 off next month to make it even. I would rather put my car in neutral on a hill and run myself over with it than go with Comcast again. I would rather swim naked through a swamp than sign back up with Comcast. I'd rather clean all the bathrooms in Grand Central Station with my tongue than spend $1 more with them. The replies quickly crossing from, man I would hate that too, to, this sounds like he has a kink. Taking advantage of someone on his last day in the military? See how that goes for you. This happened to my dad a long time ago, but he loves to tell us the story. My dad was literally working the last day of his enlistment in the Navy. He worked in communications, but his supervisor decided to get some manual labor out of him on his last day by making my dad put down new tile in one of the mess halls. Since it was a direct order, he had to comply and do the job. He carefully laid down perfectly spaced tiles in the entire room. It took him the rest of the day, but he made sure that it was as perfectly lined up as humanly possible. Supervisor looks in the room, approves the job, closes the door, and tells him he can go home. What he didn't realize is that my dad used absolutely no glue of any kind. I don't know what happened the next day when someone actually discovered what he did, but I'm sure it didn't go well for the supervisor. He never heard anything about it, but was planning to play dumb and say he didn't know it needed glue. After all, it was a job he was never trained for. Edit. This was in the US in the 1970s. Insist that I get your flyer printed for mailing out tomorrow, even though you haven't given me any copy. Okay then. As a freelance designer, getting content from clients was almost always the hardest bit. One client asked me to design them a flyer for an event they were running. Fine, no problem. After a few weeks, with the deadline getting closer, I still hadn't had any info from them, so I put together a design using dummy copy for the date, time, and event details, and send it over with the hope they'd just fill in the blanks and send it back. They didn't. The afternoon before the mailing was supposed to go out, I got an angry call from them asking why it hadn't gone to print. I explained it couldn't go to print because they hadn't actually given me any information. Oh no, we won't decide all that until the board meeting next week. But that flyer has to go out tomorrow. Are you sure? There's no information on it. Yes, print it. It's fine as it is. Okay, if you're really sure, yes. The next day I got a very angry phone call from the client's boss asking why the flyer sent to thousands of people was full of lorem ipsum. Well, who the hell schedules the meeting for the details of an event after the marketing for the event is supposed to go out? Upper management. You can cancel at no cost. Last year my wife and I got married. My parents and sister live halfway across the world, but that didn't stop them from coming over to celebrate. Since neither my wife and I get to spend much time with them, we decided to rent a house for a couple of days in a nearby wine region. You know, hang out, drink some wine, eat some cheese, and have some quality family time. It had been 3 years since we last saw them. A month or so before my parents and sister came over, I got an email from the owners of the vacation house saying that they had sold the property, but the new owners were going to continue to rent out the house and they were going to honor the booking, so not to worry, all good. 2 weeks later I got an email from the new owners saying the booking was still okay, but they were going over their records and said I still owed them $100 for the booking. I replied back with the receipt and booking confirmation that I was all paid up. Turns out the new owners unilaterally decided to increase the price of the accommodation, and I had to pay up. But they were gracious enough to say I could cancel at no cost, but they'd rather we'd keep the booking and pay that little extra. No cost for canceling the booking, you say? Within 5 minutes I had found another vacation house in the same region. There's literally dozens of them. I sent a quick email back to please cancel my booking and process the refund. We'd like you to keep the booking. Can we split the difference? No thanks. Please cancel the booking. If you keep the booking, we'll throw in a bottle of wine. No thanks. Please cancel the booking. Good thing the refund came back with days. Their reviews have been less than stellar on TripAdvisor. I wonder why. I had a similar experience. My wife and I booked an Airbnb, and a month after booking, 1 week before the trip, the owner said they had increased rates and wanted us to pay more. I said no, so they asked me to cancel. I once again said no. Airbnb charges a penalty of $50 to B&B owners for canceling on guests, and if they do it enough times Airbnb will delist them. I also think that if they cancel on a guest they can't rent to another person during the same time frame. They were trying to get me to cancel to avoid any negative repercussions. They then offered me $40 to cancel the booking. I replied I would cancel the booking for $100. They said I was being unfair, so I explained that they were in fact the one being unfair, and that I knew they were trying to circumvent Airbnb rules. They cancelled within minutes of my reply. Plus when the owner cancels, Airbnb automatically leaves a rating for you saying the owner cancelled the booking. This is an automated review.